So I'm just a regular guy, born and raised in Ohio, on the west side of Columbus, Ohio, is where I was born and raised. And I'm just a common sense kind of guy. And my common sense is I got a fire alarm or a fire smoke detector in my house. And when the daggone battery starts going down, I get the chirp, chirp effect. That's what I've been talking about tonight. Chirp, 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 chirp. You know, that 2 o'clock in the morning, you're sleeping. All of a sudden you're chirp, chirp. Chirp means get up and check my battery on that smoke alarm and change it so it stops chirping because your battery's going dead. Well, that's what's going on in Washington, D.C. tonight. That's what's going on today. So if you've missed out on some news, I'm going to bring you up to speed on that. My name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff. And for Chris Crock, Chris is off on vacation. You just heard Lori in the newsroom, Lori Waffenschmidt in the newsroom, play some audio out of Washington and talking about the White House press briefing today. I want to get into that right now. I stopped at home earlier today for lunch. I was sitting at the counter having a salad with some chicken on it, trying to keep thin as I am. I could stand to lose 2 or 3 pounds. And I have CNN on because I want to catch up on the news, and I see they say Joe Biden's about ready to speak. He's at this natural disaster center and giving a speech, and he gave a speech, and it was very anti-MAGA Republicans, and he threw that out, and Trump threw that out, and Trump doesn't get it, and he's stupid. And it was all about climate change and global warming. And Mrs. Westside Jeff, in her very so much ways, was walking through the kitchen and listening to it as she was just walking through, doesn't miss a beat. And she said, yeah, we can actually fix climate change. It's something that we actually have control of. And I went, yep, good point. Well, Washington's chirping not just about climate change. Washington's chirping about everything else. I mentioned a moment ago, we took a call from Gregory in Southlake, who said that, he's a MAGA Republican and the political persecution to Trump is unwarranted, and Biden is his mental acuity is gone and really a significant problem. And I asked him the question, who do you blame? He said Congress. I started to talk about that right before the news. It's not Congress. You got to blame the national reporting media because they're not doing their job. Well, today they finally got the dog whistle. You see, Jean-Pierre did her little press briefing, got ambushed, wasn't expecting it, and got hammered with questions, as Lori Waffenschmidt just said in the news. Talk today has been circling all around Biden's condition and his performance from last Thursday night. And Jean-Pierre said, gave out all kinds of excuses. All kinds of them. By the way, if you want to interact, you can pick up the phone and call me at 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. Garrett will take your call and screen you a little bit, put you on the screen, let me know you're there, and we'll get a chance to talk, you and I, because I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions. What's your take on what you're seeing? What's your opinion? How does this make you feel? I'm telling you how it makes me feel. That's what talk radio is about, sharing an opinion. I've got an opinion. It's not the opinion of this radio station or this company. It's mine. And it's just common sense. And I find more than ever people friend me on social media and say, you know what, Jeff, you just tell the truth. You tell it like it is. And you have wonderful opinions. So I thank you for that. If you want to weigh in on that, you can hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. I'm on Facebook, X, and Instagram, Westside Jeff. Again, 800-288-9227. So Jean-Pierre did a press conference today, walked in, and I watched that press conference, and I think she walked in with the intent of a typical day at the press conference, and it turned. Because Talk Today came up with, what's wrong with Joe Biden? I'll get to that in about 2 minutes. Well, she threw out all kinds of excuses. He had a cold. He's had 15 foreign trips or however many foreign trips, 15 time zones through June, and staff told him not to do it, but he did it. He over-prepared. We've heard all those excuses. That's why he bombed on Thursday. I got to ask you a question. You're a pretty astute person. Talk radio listeners are people who I call, my term to talk about you When people ask me what are talk radio folks like, I say a couple things. First and foremost, I say talk radio is a conversation with the community. That's what this is. You and I are having a conversation. That's why you can pick up a phone and call me at 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. But I say this about talk radio fans. Those people who listen to talk radio, that's you. That's me. We are socially aware people. That's the best term I have. I don't like talking about smart voters, dumb voters. We're socially aware. We know what's going on in society. We are aware of the circumstances, and we have opinions on it because we are media astute. We pay attention. We don't just take something that somebody rips and reads and tells us, and we, like the Democratic Party, and believe in it and take what they say and regurgitate it. We follow the news. We watch the news. You're like me. You've watched the news. You follow the news. You formulate and generate your own opinion. Socially aware Americans. That's who we are. That's what we are. We're socially engaged. 800-288-9227 is the phone number. John from Austin area. I appreciate you listening and calling. You got an opinion on what I'm talking about. What's your thought here in WBAP, John?
Good evening. I think that the Democrats have always known that Biden was pretty much a nitwit, to put it nicely, just somebody to stick in the office and tell what to do. And now that they've been found out, and found out by not us being the people who have a sane mind and love our country and all that business, but by their constituents, the ones that have been led around by the nose for so long. But now that the truth is really out, it's like the king's clothes. It's like Obama walked in there. He's a Trojan horse. Biden's right behind him, and the people are finally fed up, especially the younger crowd. And thank God, I think they're seeing the light, and they see what a loser this man is. And the Democrats are going, oh my gosh, yeah, no, we're going to have to change horses.
John, I appreciate you listening to the station. If you don't have it, make sure to download the WBAP app to your phone. It's free from your app store, and keep up to speed on what's going on with that hurricane, because Texas Department of Energy Management has said we got to stay weather aware through this weekend because we're in a cone of uncertainty for that hurricane. So keep your eyes on the weather this weekend. And thank you for listening, and thank you for calling that. And I hear what you're saying about the Democrats knew. I disagree with you on one thing there, John. You said the Democrats knew all along. I don't think they did, John, and I appreciate your call. I don't think they knew that. I think tight insiders knew when he got elected, but his mental faculties have declined so quickly in 2.5 years that only a few people saw it. I saw a story, John, to validate that. I saw a story today on Axios. Axios had a piece quoting several sources in the White House as saying high-level aides are, quote-unquote, freaking the F out, because the story goes on to say there are probably 8 to 10 people within the White House in that tightly knit circle who know how bad Joe's mental faculties are, but nobody else knew that. And I've been in the White House. I've not been in an administration, but I've visited there. I know pretty high-level people in Washington. And I can tell you some of the folks that I've known over the years and met with over the years, they've seen the president, not Biden, but other presidents. They've interacted with them, but they are kept so far away from those inadequacies that they don't really know. They get shielded from that. And the media is not reporting it. So how would they know? I don't think that's a common, well-known thing. So I think Thursday was absolutely earthquake to them too, and very, very disappointing. And it pissed them off because they're like, somebody's shielding us. Those are some of the questions of the media day. I'll tell you what they were on the other side of this. That's coming up in 3 minutes. The media had some tough questions. I'll tell you what one of them was, and it really caught me by surprise. It should surprise the hell out of you. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crocker, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on 93.3 FM. So today, fallout from the Biden performance on Thursday night. You know what? It's that chirp factor. It's the toilet tank running in your bathroom that just bothers the hell out of you. It's not going to go away. What Joe Biden put on tape the other night was not a moment of having a cold. It wasn't a bad performance. It was true mental acuity. It was a lack of mental stamina. Gregory called a little while ago from South Lake and said, you know what, Jeff? The world got to see what we've seen all along, and you're right, Gregory. That's on tape. You can't undo what's on tape. Sometimes you can fudge some things around, and the White House has done that with regard to what they call deep fakes and these copies of things. They can doctor things up. That they can't doctor up, and that's not going to go away. So today, and by the way, when Gregory called, I said to Gregory, who do you blame for nobody invoking the 25th and for Biden still being in office and what we're dealing with? And he said Congress. And I said, I don't. I blame the media. The role of the media is the watchdog of the community, the watchdog of the government. The role of the media is to question those things. And the media has been a public relations arm for this president. They have done nothing but lauded him and revered him, and they have just absolutely just put him on a pedestal because it's Joe Biden. They have not done their job until today. The tide turned today. If you haven't followed the news, I'm giving you some breaking news on what you missed today. The tide started to turn. You see, today, talk started circling around Biden's campaign about his condition. And they started questioning in the White House press briefing. I was actually stopped at home about lunchtime, turned on the news. I had CNN on and I watched a little bit of it. And I was floored with what I saw. I was stunned. And I started clapping, and my wife's like, Mrs. Westside Jeff, my name's Jeff, Westside Jeff. Mrs. Westside Jeff said, "You're clapping for them." And I said, "It's about time." Well, here's the flavor of some of the questions that came up in the press briefing. And again, Jean-Pierre wasn't ready for these. I think she came out with her little binder ready to answer the questions, but she got ambushed. She wasn't expecting these questions. You see, the White House reporters today, during the briefing with Jean-Pierre over the Biden press conference today, asked questions about Biden's fitness. Questions I heard include, I had to write them down. I couldn't write them down quick enough. One of the questions was, after the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor or did he get a neurological exam? At the end of that sentence, I don't know who the guy was. He was 2 or 3 rows behind, said, is he disabled? And before, think about that. When in your lifetime have you ever seen a press corps in a press briefing ask those 2 questions? Again, the first question I heard was, and there were others, but the one that stuck out to me is, after the debate on Thursday night, did the President of the United States, Joe Biden, get examined by a doctor, or did he get a neurological exam? I can't remember the last time I don't know I've ever heard that question out of a press member about a president of the United States. I suspect it might have been asked at one time at the end of the Reagan administration. I'm too young to know all that, and I didn't follow it then. I don't know. But bravo. It's about time. You see, I think the media has been embarrassed because they realize they've been the public relations arm of this White House, and they've got mud on their face, and they should have. And news directors at major networks across this country ought to be absolutely vilified that they've allowed their newsrooms to get so soft as to stop being the watchdogs of the community and the watchdogs of the government. At the end of that first question, after the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor, or did he get a neurological exam? Again, the guy behind there said, is he disabled? That stunned me. That stopped me. I'm like, whoa, I wouldn't have asked that question. I mean, that was a very loaded question but it's a legitimate question. The next question I thought was really good, and I forget the lady's name from NBC, and to me this was the best question. And Jean-Pierre could not answer any of these, really didn't go into it. She gave the standard, it was a bad performance. He had a cold. He traveled a lot internationally. We all have bad days. He had a bad night. my favorite question was this, and this to me will resonate, and I think live for a long time. And her question was, and it was a forceful question, and it was well stated, that wasn't an attack. It's a fair question to ask. So it's not argumentative, it's not attacking, but it's a fair question. Her question was, is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day? What a great question that is. Let me repeat that again. A press question today from the pool reporter in the White House briefing room is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day? Jean-Pierre didn't have an answer. Now, earlier, after all that, the New York Times later today published a story this afternoon about the president's health declining over the last couple months. And the caller I just took a moment ago, John, down in Austin, again, if you'd like to weigh in or comment about some of this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your opinions. 800-288-9227. It's 800-288-WBAP. John in Austin called and said, you know what? I think the Democrats knew all along. And John, I appreciate your opinion. I've kind of been on the inside of political campaigns. I don't think that's correct. I think the top 8-10 folks within the White House, very, very tightly controlled circles, probably knew Joe's mental faculties, his acuity is declining. But the regular staffers didn't, because they hid it from him. They've hid it. They've hid it all along. And it continues to be a problem. This debate continues to hover over top of things. In fact, Lori Waffenschmidt in her newsroom will have more on this about the debate and the fallout on this in about 5 minutes or 4.5 minutes. She's got some audio and some stories out of Washington about what I'm talking about, some of the chirp and some of the conversations that occurred today. That's coming up in our newscast in 4 minutes. You'll hear that. We'll continue this conversation. We'll talk about it on the other side of that. There were great questions today. The media, to me, woke up today and actually asked tough questions, which is the role of the media. And Jean-Pierre wasn't ready, didn't answer them. And the more we hear this chirp, this isn't going to go away. This is not an issue of a bad performance of Joe Biden last Thursday. This really is a question of, is this man capable of being the president of the United States 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, now through January 20th, in leading our country? I say no. This is not a problem of a debate. This is a problem of the man needs to be removed. And there's a military threat that comes back to this. I'll tell you about that right after the news. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. In for Chris Crocker, News Talk 820, WBAP, and now on 93.3 FM. So today in Washington, the chirp was going on. The White House press corps actually asked really difficult questions in the press briefing of Jean-Pierre. I think she got ambushed. From my eyeballs, from what I saw, tapping my chest because I'm talking to you face to face. I watched this and I was like, oh my God, this thing has turned. And it just felt to me like this is a turning pivotal moment, not just in politics, but in the world of the media and what the media does, because the media's role is to be the watchdog of the community, watchdog of the government. And they asked some tough questions. And I thought my favorite question of the day today came from the NBC reporter. I forget her name, Kelly something, I think she said. Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or is his ability to do his job day to day? That's a great question to ask. The press briefer, Jean-Pierre, didn't have an answer for her. She kind of deflected all of her questions, rightly so, because she wasn't prepared for them. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. We're talking about the fallout from Thursday. This is ground-shaking important. This is one of the biggest stories of my lifetime, and I think it only gets bigger. It's a big onion. We're unpeeling it, and as you unpeel it, it's going to get stinkier. And tomorrow night when you turn on this radio, and the next night, it's going to be a different story, but it's still going to be around the same thing. This ain't going away. That's on tape. That debate is on tape. And Joe's condition is not going to change overnight. It wasn't just a bad night. It's a man that's incapable of being in the position he's in and needs to be removed from office because he's not capable of handling it. My name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff. If you have an opinion on it, I want to hear it. You can hit me up on social media at Westside Jeff on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, or pick up the phone and call me at 800-288-9227 like Rebecca from Fort Worth. Rebecca, thank you for listening. I appreciate you listening to Westside Jeff and for Chris Crock on WBAP. How do you feel about it?
Well, thank you for having me on your call. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right. So this issue with President Biden having such poor performance in the debate, and really it's been ongoing, everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. But this reminds me of the story of the Emperor's New Clothes. And if anybody doesn't know that, the Emperor wanted something special, and he was talked into clothes that were invisible, that only the best of people could see them, and he bought it. So he's wearing these clothes in a parade to show off his new clothes to the kingdom, and no one is willing to say, hey, nothing's on him except the child. And the child said he's naked. And suddenly they could all see what was happening. And so I think this is the same thing. We finally had one reporter. I think the media has been afraid to say anything, just like everyone in that story, because how is it going to impact them? Are they going to be in trouble? Are they going to be run out of town? Are they going to go to prison? Whatever. And so now that it's out in the open, people are asking the question. Someone had the guts to say it. I guess her name was Kelly who asked that question.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think is happening. I think we're afraid for their jobs, whatever.
Rebecca, thank you for listening and thank you for calling. I can't disagree with you. I think you're on point with that. One of the things I know about being a member of the media to some degree, because I've been in some of those situations, is you want to be respectful of the office of the president. I would. It's still the president. I'd never voted for him. I don't like him. I don't agree with his policies, but he's still the president of the United States. You have to be respectful to the office and to the White House core and the press. You have to be respectful. But one of the things I know about the media, sometimes they don't want to ask tough questions because they're afraid to lose their credentials. That's happened in this press brief, in this White House briefing room. There are a couple guys I follow that I've watched them have their credentials taken away because they've asked tough questions. You can ask tough questions, you just don't have to be a dick about it, right? And the question that Kelly asked today, I thought was a great question. Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day? That's a great question. It's not attacking. It's a fair question. And I thought that, to me, was a groundbreaking moment that I will forever remember. Fred from Fort Worth, thank you for listening and the Westside Jeff Show and for Chris Crock. I appreciate you calling. How do you feel about all this?
Thanks for having me on. I'm a family practice doctor, and I've walked through these kinds of issues with several patients and their families. I also have a mom who's in the early stages of dementia, and I can say that I saw this back in 2020 in the campaign that Joe Biden ran, and the fact that he was kind of locked up in his basement. The debate, if you go back and listen to the debate he had with Paul Ryan back when he was running for vice president, he was spot on. He schooled Paul Ryan, and Paul Ryan's a really smart guy. Yeah. And you saw him debate Donald Trump, on the other hand, in 2020. What you saw was some early evidence of cognitive decline. I listened to some of the people like with the New York Times that were expressing how sharp Joe was a couple of months ago, and they had spent time with him and he was great and everything is fine. And then now they're calling for his resignation because it's kind of, I call it faux surprise. They want to act like they didn't know, but a lot of them did know. And I know that Jill knew because she's been hiding it, and she had to hide it from all these people, and his decline has become a lot more rapid in the last couple of years, and it's obvious to everybody now, but they've been hiding this ever since day one.
You know what, Fred? I agree with you. Fred, you're a doctor, a family physician. I want to follow up with a question with you, but I totally agree with you that I think he does have dementia. And you know what, Jill? Let me position it this way. Jill is doing what any mama bear would do. It's the same thing you'd want your wife to do for you, or your wife or you to do for your kids. Mama bear come out, attack, and protect the herd. That's exactly what Jill is doing.
She's doing that now, but actually, if you look back, if you remember when Ronald Reagan went through this, Nancy made sure that people that were potentially hostile to him or that might expose him, she protected him from those people.
Exact same thing. We just didn't have the proliferation of the media then that we do now to see it in front of us like we do now, right?
True. The thing that I'm pointing to, though, is that Jill allowed and actually promoted her husband running for president when she knew he had problems. And that was something that the spouse really shouldn't have done.
Yeah. Fred, you're a doctor, a family physician, and your opinion, your medical opinion, and what you're seeing from afar is that Joe had dementia in 2020. For those who aren't familiar with it, I am very much so, not because I have it, but I'll tell you about it in a few minutes. Give us examples of what you saw, what you hear. Give us the things to look for moving forward. Look for X, Y, and Z. Those are common traits of people experiencing dementia.
Well, and I think that that's something that we actually saw when Joe was saying all men were created equal, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, oh, you know the thing. And it's just like, if that's part of your speech, you have it down. And
you lose your train of thought and you finish it with a generic sentence of, you know that thing.
Yeah. And that was part of his mild cognitive decline back then. We're seeing a little bit more of it now. Actually, there are 7 stages of dementia. And it is, it's very variable. And I wouldn't want to diagnose Joe Biden over the phone or just from watching TV. That's not really fair. But I think that the doctor a year ago that said that Joe was in great shape, that guy committed malpractice not only on Joe and his family, but also on the country. You see it now because he's got decreased work performance. He's got difficulty speaking. He can't even do, unfortunately, normal tasks. I think Mark Levin says he's probably at stage 5 dementia. I'm not sure about that. But there is some evidence for some of the anger that he lashes out in circumstances that you wouldn't normally see a man lash out, or a seasoned politician wouldn't. And that's part of some of the mid stages of dementia.
Fred, thanks for listening. I appreciate you being a part of the show tonight. You're spot on with that. I agree with you. I'm not a doctor. My best friend, who is 3 years younger than me, came down with dementia. He's living in a home, an Alzheimer's home. I've gone through it with my in-laws and a couple of work folks, their parents, and I'm living it day to day with my buddy because I pick him up every Saturday and Sunday and spend the weekends with him. And many afternoons I'll try to get over there and see him. And I'm experiencing exactly what you just said. And you know what, my buddy, his name is Earl. Earl's cognitive mental acuity is better than Joe Biden. Better than Joe Biden, period. I want to continue this conversation. Jesse from Fort Worth, I see you. I want to get to you next. I got to hit a quick break on the other side of this. We'll continue the conversation about mental acuity, Joe Biden, the White House press corps, and how they're handling it, and a key Democrat today from Texas that spoke out. When we talk about a landslide, we talk about peeling back the onion, and whoops, there's another layer. Guess what? There's another layer, and it dropped today with a guy here in Texas. I'll tell you about that in about 3 minutes. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, in for Chris Crock here on News Talk 820 WBAP and now 93.3 FM. Westside Jeff is the name, sitting in for Chris Crock. Chris is back next week. We're talking about the topics of the day today. One of the topics is Hurricane Beryl is down in the it's down around headed towards Cuba and headed this way. The Texas Department of Emergency Management came out today and said to Texas, you've got to be aware. You have to be aware. This is a key pivotal week. It's 4th of July week. you're about ready to tune out and become, go celebrate the fireworks and family and get-togethers, you got to keep an eye on what's going on in the Gulf, because Texas is in a uncertainty cone right now that is set to be in the Gulf area this Saturday and Sunday and could impact our weather. And you don't want to be headed to the coast, going to the water, getting close to the Gulf and finding out, whoops, we're about ready to get hit with a pretty big hurricane. So keep your eye on that. The safest way to do it is go to your app store, download the WBAP app. You can take us with you anytime, anywhere you go to listen to the station. You can also get breaking news alerts. I get them all the time. I love it. And it tells me what's going on. I recommend the same. So if you haven't done it, please do it. WBAP is the app. Go to your app store. It's a free app. Download it and use it, because it could help you and save a life, quite honestly. We're talking about the news today out of Washington on the heels of the Biden debate the other night. Finally, the media spoke up and made some. They did their job. They asked tough questions. I asked for your thoughts, your opinions, how this makes you feel. I'd love to hear from you at 800-288-9227. The phone number 800-288-9227, which spells WBAP. In about 2 minutes, I want to bring up, update you on news that occurred Sunday night that you probably missed. That is very important to know. And the Pentagon states it's because of one thing, but I'm going to tell you what it's really about. It's about Joe Biden's performance or mental acuities on Thursday night. I'm also going to tell you about a Texas legislator who spoke very openly about that today. But first, I want to take a call from Jesse from Fort Worth. Jesse, thanks for listening. I'm Westside Jeff in for Chris Crock. You're on WBAP.
Well, Westside Jeff, I can tell you, I told you, Carl Screener, that, hey, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But what doggone Biden did with Ukraine and the prosecutor that was investigating his son, that's not presidential requirements. That everything that the Supreme Court had done, no matter what the Democrats are saying, Trump ain't bothered by that. He's not involved with that, but it's a lot of stuff that they trying to get Trump on, trying to stop the Supreme Court. Biden gonna be in jail. I pray not. I pray for him to just live out the rest of his life free. But he was not presidential when he did that with Ukraine to take, you fired that prosecutor. That was not a presidential requirement. And what they saying Trump, that they going to investigate Trump for, okay, all right, investigate it. But say that it was not his presidential duties, and it was not Biden's presidential duties to do what he did to the Ukrainians, and people died. That man's going to go to jail, and they fighting against what the Supreme Court done ruled. They don't realize it's going to be a crackdown. They're going to say, oh, it's Trump vengeance. No, it's not. It's what they asked for. It's what they begged for. And as a black American, I'm telling you, don't call me an African American, because I'll sue you for defamation of character. I'm a black American.
You. Jesse, who'd you vote for last election, if I can ask, if you don't mind sharing?
Sir?
Who'd you vote for in 2020?
Well, my vote?
Yeah, would you share who you voted for?
My vote been Trump since 2016 and 2020. I never voted for Obama. I never voted for Clinton. I just wrote it out, man, because I knew these people was evil. These people was wrong. There's something wrong with these people. And Joe Biden, like I said, I don't think he's running nothing. I hate to call him evil. I just think the people that's pulling the strings are evil. These are evil people. I mean, you think that the election is about abortion? How many young kids you can kill in the womb? Oh, that's what they're going to run to the polls to vote for. Roe v. Wade, Trump said, hey, there shouldn't be a national mandate to kill kids. It should be a state mandate. If Texas want to kill kids, if Louisiana don't want to kill kids, hey, man, just go to the border. Go wherever you want to go, but don't make it a national mandate. And
Jesse, you're a smart man.
Sir?
You're a smart man. You're socially aware,
I'm not
and
the
you're
sharpest knife in the drawer.
Yeah, you know what, dude? You're pretty damn smart, Jesse. Let me tell you something. And the reason I ask about your vote, because if you follow the media would say because you're a black man, you're supposed to vote for the Democratic Party. Even Joe said if you don't vote black, you're not a Democrat. Or if you don't vote Democrat, you're not a black. Well, that
I was at a meeting when Biden said that they're gonna put us back in chains.
Yeah.
I went to that. It was a radio.
That's offensive.
Producer. Yeah, he said they're gonna put us back in chains. Who in the world do they think that black people are gonna sit around and let anybody, the government or anybody, put us back in chains?
Nope. Jesse, I gotta go. I get hit top of the hour news. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you calling. And my comment on everything you said comes back to one thing, and that is, and it's the Democrats who are running on the theory of the threat to democracy. I will tell you, I have a very, very well thought out, very strong opinion, very hardcore laced opinion about the threat to democracy. I will share with you on the other side of the news. We got news coming up in the newsroom with Lori Waffenschmidt and an update on the Hamas war and something going on there. She's got that coming up. The other thing I want to share is on Sunday night, what you may not realize, U.S. military has been put on a heightened security of a state. U.S. military raised the security protection across Europe. And I'll tell you about that also. And right after the news coming up in about, we got 2 minutes, and then we got news for about 4 minutes on the other side. I'll bring you up to speed on those. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And for Chris Crock on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on 93.3 FM.